Welcome back to Good Sports for You, where we are talking about good sports for you. And today we are back at home in the home setting because I'm not in Jersey right now. I came home for the holidays. And speaking of holidays, we got all new sorts of bobbleheads up here, specifically the Willie Adames Christmas bobblehead. Love to see it up there. And then also we got Hank Aaron, the GOAT, Carlos Gomez, Bob Uecker, and Wes Helms bobblehead. Do me a favor, look up Wes Helms for you. But anyway, we got a super exciting docket to talk about today. There were so many deals, so many things happening since the last time I did one of these videos, and I want to go over everything. And I really want to talk about what in the world is going on with the Mets right now. They just made another trade, and so I want to talk about their future and what is happening with them. But right now, we got to go over everything. Similar to last time, basically, I went through Jeff Passan's Twitter account, and I said, oh, look, this is a deal. Let's talk about it. But before we hop into it, I want to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate it so much. So to start off, the Guardians signed reliever Shawn Armstrong to a one-year deal with a mutual option for 2027 worth $5.5 million. He was a really quality reliever last season. He had a 2.31 ERA. He pitched to an extremely low batting average, and he's an 11-year vet. So the Guardians kind of amping themselves up, adding another bullpen arm as they try to make a push in a pretty weak AL Central right now. Next up, Michael King is re-signing with the Padres on a 3-year deal worth $75 million. He had a 3.44 ERA last season across 14 games. He did get hurt a little bit there, but he has a career 3.24 ERA. And also the Padres also signed Triston McKenzie to a minor league deal. Now this may not seem like a big thing, but Triston McKenzie has loads of potential. We saw what he did in 2022. He had an excellent season. Obviously, he hasn't been up to that level nearly since that 2022 season. But if the Padres can somehow find a way to tap back into some of that potential, they could have a really good starter on their hands, or at least a guy that could put up some spot starts, maybe coming up from AAA, get a spot there, get a spot start there, and all those things. But the big thing that I want to focus on with Michael King, 3 years, $75 million, for a guy when you're looking at the numbers, you're like, okay, well, he's not an ace. That's a big contract that's well over $20 million every single year on a 3-year deal. This is telling me that the starting pitching market right now, you gotta pay the big bucks. And we'll get to that with a couple of trades later. We saw that with Dylan Cease. We're probably gonna see that with like a Framber Valdez. All of these guys who are starting pitchers, teams are going to have to pay basically an arm and a leg to even be in contention for these starting pitchers because the market seems to be so thin on the trade market and on the free agency market. Next up is going to be Matt Strahm, traded to the Royals from the Phillies for Jonathan Bowlen, who's also another pitcher. Matt Strahm has been a fantastic reliever for the Phillies over these past 3 seasons. He pitched to a 1.59 ERA plus, which means that he's 59% better than the league average pitcher in his span of those 3 seasons with the Phillies. He was a one-time All-Star. The only thing is he only has 1 year of control remaining for the team. So basically the Royals are getting a long-term rental in exchange for Jonathan Bowlen, who's a pretty young pitcher. He's 29 years old, but he has tons and tons of team control. But obviously the Royals think that they have an opening right now, so they're going to try to push for it with this Matt Strahm trade right here. And a funny thing is about this Matt Strahm deal is that he actually began his career with the Royals, and then he got bounced around a little bit, so now he's back in the city where it all started for him, and he's talked about how he's super excited to help this team compete, and he certainly will. He is a winner, he knows how to pitch well, and he can come through in some big-time situations for that Royals organization. Next up is going to be the first trade that I wanted to, or the second trade, I guess, that I want to talk about, and that is going to be Shane Baz from the Rays to the Orioles in exchange for 4 prospects and a draft pick, which is the 33rd overall pick. Now, you don't see a lot of draft picks come out in MLB trades like that's really an NBA thing or an NFL thing. You don't see that a lot of the time in the MLB, but the Orioles obviously thought that they wanted to go get their guys, so they traded basically a first-round pick and multiple top prospects in exchange for this guy, right? Shane Baz, they gave up 4 prospects, 3 of whom are now going to be in the Royals' top 15 prospects, and the final guy was the Orioles' number 30 prospect. So the Rays now have a new number 7, number 8, and number 13 prospect, and another guy who is still a pretty high-value prospect. For a guy who only has a career 4.25 ERA, but he does have team control until 2029. Last season, he had a 4.87 ERA. However, I would like to note that he was awful at the home stadium for the Rays, and they were in like that minor league spring training field that they had. So if the Orioles are looking at it and they're saying, hey, we got this guy that we know can be very, very quality. However, he was just really bad in a spring training facility, essentially. We're just hoping that that doesn't translate anywhere else, but he's staying in division. And one thing that I want to say, I'm always scared when teams trade with the Rays. The Rays have the ability to turn prospects who teams undervalue into superstars. We've seen the Rays do it multiple times, and I'm just concerned that the Orioles did the exact same thing. I mean, 4 prospects is an absurd haul for a starting pitcher who, yes, has a bunch of team control, but in all reality has not shown you that he can be anything more than maybe a 3 starter. But also, with that being said, the Orioles already traded a young pitcher in Grayson Rodriguez earlier in the offseason, so now they're kind of replacing him with another young starting pitcher. And the Rays were getting active again, sending Brandon Lau, Jake Mangum, and Mason Montgomery to the Pirates. The Pirates, so this is a 3-team deal. So the Rays sent those 3 players to the Pirates. The Pirates sent pitcher Mike Burrows to the Astros, and the Astros in exchange sent 2 prospects, their number 2 and number 7 prospect, which is now the Rays' 4 and 6 prospects, to the Rays. So that's how it all worked out. So the big thing that I want to say is I absolutely love this for the Pirates. They're getting a high-quality bat in Brandon Lau. We know what he can be. He's a multiple-time All-Star at the second base position, which is an extremely thin position right now. Yes, he's not the best defender in the world, but right now the Pirates need bats, and they got a big one right here. Not to mention, Jake Mangum is a quality outfielder who's a rookie, so he has a ton of team control. He can be a plus player. He had a .296 average last season with a 96 OPS plus. So yes, when you're looking at the OPS pluses and everything like that, he's 4% worse than league average. But I love a guy who still has a high batting average in a time in baseball where people don't like to look at batting averages. He also put up 1.2 WAR in your rookie season, so he's a plus player, so you like to see that. And Mason Montgomery, he really struggled last season with a 5.67 ERA. He has a career 5.01 ERA. He only pitched a little bit the season before, but he's only 25 years old. And I've seen already reports saying that he has a bunch of upside. Maybe the Rays couldn't figure it out with him, Maybe the Pirates... the Pirates have been really good at developing pitching recently, I will say that. So maybe the Pirates can find something else with Mason Montgomery. And in exchange, they're giving up Mike Burrows. Mike Burrows, who's a very quality pitcher, don't get me wrong. He had a 3.94 ERA last season in 23 games pitched. It was his rookie season, essentially. He only pitched 1 game the season before, and he's only 26 years old. He was a top-end prospect for this Pirates organization. But the thing is, the Pirates have a plethora of young starting pitching. They have so much starting pitching that they don't even know what to do with it. So basically they're saying, hey, we're giving up this guy that realistically would be a 4 or 5 in our rotation this season because you got Paul Skeens, Bubba Chandler's going to be in there too. You got Mitch Keller is on there as well. That's already 3 pitchers that are going to be ahead of this guy. Then you got 4, and maybe another guy comes in and he's down to 5, or even potentially another guy comes in and he's not even in the starting pitching anymore. So basically they said, hey, we're good on Mike Burrows right now. We'll give him up for bats. And in exchange, they got bats. And the Pirates organization has been talking about this offseason that we need to get bats, and that is exactly what they're doing. So I absolutely love this move for them. Now, this move isn't enough to move the needle much for this Pirates organization, but another deal later that we're going to talk about could be one that does move the needle. But speaking of teams that are kind of bottom dwellers, the White Sox signed the top Japanese player, Manataka Murakami, to a 2-year deal worth $34 million. Now this kid, and he is a kid, was an absolute star in Japan. He was the top home run hitter. He hit a record 56 home runs in 2022. He's only 25 years old, and there are some concerns, which is why he didn't get as big of a contract as some people were expecting. There are worries about the swing and miss and chases. And also, he's struggled with the velocity in the past. Like, he hasn't been able to do very well against pitches that are like 95 or above or something like that. And the fact of the matter is once you're in the big leagues, there's a lot more of that at the MLB level. You're going to be seeing really high velo, especially coming out of the pen. And also there are questions about the defensive position. He's played third base, he's played some first base, hasn't been like fantastic at either of them. But so I've heard essentially is that expect him to play some first base and DH is probably going to be the plan for him. But I love this move for both deals. And I listened to a couple of other podcasts talk about this. I listened to Jolly Olive talk about it. And he talked about why he liked it so much because Murakami essentially, there are concerns with him, for sure. He's going to a team there's not going to be a lot of pressure. He's not going to the Dodgers. He's not going to the Yankees. He's not even going to like the Cubs or the Red Sox or something like that who are looking to contend. He's going to the Chicago White Sox, which, yes, that's a big market, but it's a team that doesn't have any expectations. If he can have an awesome season, that is fantastic. And then the White Sox are getting him on a steal because the contract is only worth $17 million a year. That's not a lot for a guy who has high upside potential. And then also, if he doesn't do well, okay, the White Sox are paying $17 million both years for a guy who's not fantastic. Again, that's not a big deal. So I love the move for the White Sox. It's a low risk, pretty medium to high reward. And I love it for Murakami because essentially, yes, he's taking a little bit less up front right now. But in 2 years, you're going to be a free agent at 27. If you can put up, let's say, he cuts his home runs down to like 27, let's say, and if he's hitting for a decent average, that's a bat that's going to get you paid for sure at only 27 years old. That means he's hitting free agency at his prime time. I absolutely love the deal for both teams. Let's see if the White Sox can build on it anymore in the offseason this upcoming season. Next up, another big time trade, Wilson Contreras to the Red Sox from the Cardinals. The Cardinals look like they're blowing it up, essentially. I mean, Sonny Gray got traded to the Red Sox earlier, which is kind of funny, in the offseason, and now Wilson Contreras is gone. You're getting 2 huge contracts off the books, and basically the last guy that you're looking at is going to be Nolan Arenado. So the question is, are they going to completely say, hey, we're done, and we're basically going all in on a rebuild, or at least not paying players right now? So Nolan Arenado could be the next guy on the chopping block for sure. But this is a huge move for the Red Sox because they were looking for a first baseman. They didn't really have one going into this offseason, so they got their guy. He'll mainly play first base, and yes, he can definitely DH, so expect some DH. And obviously he can catch. He was a longtime catcher in the past, but don't really expect it. But it's always nice to have another catcher just in your back pocket if you need it. Because last season he didn't catch a single game, and the Red Sox last season also had Carlos Narvaez, who was like really solid. So you don't need Wilson Contreras to be the catcher for you. You need him to be the bat and the first baseman. Last season he had a 123 OPS plus, so he's 23% better than league average. He's a multiple-time All-Star. He's a World Series champion. Those are all things that you need in the Red Sox organization right now. The Red Sox have a bunch of young players who, quite frankly, don't know how to win baseball games right now. Wilson Contreras is going to provide that clubhouse leader mentality that's going to show these young players how to win at the MLB level. In addition, he is a plus player. He is going to make your team better. And honestly, he's not getting paid an absurd amount. He's getting paid $18 million this year and $18.5 million next year. So it's pretty obvious why the Cardinals wanted to get him off. They basically felt that, hey, if we're not competing, why are we paying a guy $18 million? Whereas the Red Sox are like, we are competing, we'll pay a guy $18 million. And there's a team option for $17.5 million next season and a $5 million buyout. I will say I wouldn't expect the Red Sox to take it, and they'll probably go for that $5 million buyout. And in addition, the Cardinals are sending money this way. So the Cardinals are going to have to be paying some of that contract, and the Red Sox aren't going to have to take all of it. Yes, they'll take the brunt. And in exchange, the Cardinals are getting a plethora of young pitching talent. They get a 19-year-old pitcher who is now their number 9 prospect in their system. They're getting a 22-year-old pitcher who is unranked, and they're getting Hunter Dobbins, who's honestly the star of this trade. He's a 26-year-old rookie pitcher at the MLB level who pitched to a 4.13 ERA last season in not a very large sample size. But hey, 26-year-old rookie pitching to a 4.13 ERA. I think the Cardinals will take that 10 out of 10 times. And also you're getting a couple young prospects in the mix there as well, who are basically going to be lottery tickets for you. This is essentially the textbook thing that they did last time with Sonny Gray. They're following the same playbook of, hey, we're getting rid of the large contract and we're getting young pitching talent, hoping to find somebody, because their farm system, especially pitching-wise, is not fantastic right now. Next up is the deal that I really, really wanted to talk about. Jeff McNeil is going to the A's from the Mets for a 17-year-old pitching prospect from Cuba. I understand that the Mets are like, hey, Jeff McNeil is getting older. You have gotten rid of or not brought back 4 staples of your team. I am a fan of the Brewers. I get that, and we are known for trading staples of the team, and it is frustrating every single time. David Stearns is the former manager of Milwaukee, so he could be following the exact same thing that he did in Milwaukee, but here's the difference. He is in New York City. Milwaukee is Milwaukee. Milwaukee doesn't have the money to pay the big-time players, and also they come from a franchise and a fan base that recognizes we cannot pay CC Sabathia a large contract when he came over in 2008. Brewers fans recognized he was coming in here for half a season, and then that's going to be that. Prince Fielder didn't sign an extension with the Milwaukee Brewers. He was one of the faces of the franchise. Basically, the only extensions and big contracts that we've had is Lorenzo Cain, Yelich, and Ryan Braun. And a Jackson Chourio extension, I guess, but he was so young that it wasn't even a huge deal. You are in New York City now, David Stearns. You just got Juan Soto on this enormous contract. Now you're getting rid of all these fan favorite players who have been with the team forever. These are franchise staples. Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo, Edwin Diaz, Pete Alonso. 4 players who are all stars and faces of the franchise with your team, and now they're done. If I was a Mets fan, I would be so upset right now because the whole entire team is basically destroyed from the past. And yes, you're having a young team that's going to be fun, but it's basically Soto, Lindor, and a bunch of guys that you don't even know what's going to happen with. It doesn't make one lick of sense to me. And also, they're sending a bunch of money over to the A's, so the A's, instead of having to pay $15.75 million a year, they're only got to pay $10 million a year for Jeff McNeil. And also, if they don't give him the club option for next season, which is a $2 million buyout, the Mets are going to pay the buyout. So essentially, and I'd be surprised if the A's do take that team option, so the Mets are essentially sending almost $8 million for a player that is a staple in your franchise, and in return, you're getting a 17-year-old pitching prospect. He is still in high school practically. He couldn't even, he'd be graduating high school, this summer. It doesn't make any sense to me. I understand why they're doing it. Because Jeff McNeil is older and he's getting worse. Brandon Nimmo is the exact same thing. You gotta make a move. You have to, yes, you brought in Devin Williams and Luke Weaver, which is great, but you're losing Edwin Diaz, who's way better than both of them. And it's we're holding out for Cody Bellinger. What if you don't get him? What if you don't get him? And then all the moves that you've been making and stuff like that to save money and do all these things, what's it going to be for? You got Marcus Semien, who's also an aging veteran. I don't understand the thought process. And quite frankly, I'm glad David Stearns is in my mind, fumbling. And, he could come up with a huge deal, out of somewhere. But he went to the Mets. He chased the big market like they all leave Milwaukee. They always do. And now he doesn't know how to handle the situation. I don't understand why the Mets are doing what they're doing. Like I said, I can understand to a certain extent, but you're losing. Sometimes it's not about the numbers. Sometimes it's about your fans. I expect that the Mets attendance is going to drop this year significantly because you're losing 4 guys who sell jerseys, honestly. Like I said, you have Lindor, you have Soto, who are 2 future first ballot Hall of Famers, guaranteed. And you're surrounding them with players who have almost no experience in the big leagues. And also, you haven't gotten any starting pitching. Starting pitching was the thing that people were like, yeah, the Mets got to focus on that a little bit this offseason. You haven't gotten anything. You are going down. A team that fell apart late in the season, but if they didn't, they easily would have been in the playoffs. Could have easily been a playoff-bound team, and now you are losing everyone. It doesn't make a lick of sense to me. It's frustrating. I understand your pain, Mets fans. Like I said, coming from a Brewers fan, I get what they're doing, and it's so frustrating, and I truly, truly despise it for all of you, and I feel so bad for you and everything that you're going through because it sucks. It really does. But anyway, moving on. Mariners signed Rob Refsnyder to a 1-year deal worth $6 million, $6.25 million. I love the move for them. The Mariners needed a bat, and they got a guy who absolutely rakes against lefties. Look at his splits. It's absurd. He can play the outfield. He plays first base. I think it's a great move for them. And then we got a couple more to talk about. Sean Newcomb is signing a 1-year deal worth $4.5 million to the White Sox. He's a 9-year vet. In his 36 games with the A's last season after being traded, he had a 1.75 ERA. Again, this is kind of a low-risk decent reward for the White Sox. They're trying to just make their team better where they can, bring in veterans who know how to win ball games, like a Sean Newcomb type player, show the young guys how to get it done. I like the White Sox offseason a lot so far. And then the Pirates coming at you again. Ryan O'Hearn, 2-year deal with the Pirates, worth $29 million. He has a career 105 OPS plus, so 5% better than league average, but that's very, very, misleading. Because last season, he was an all-star with a 125 OPS plus, and over the past 3 seasons, he has a 122 OPS plus. So he is well better than league average. He's a first baseman, and I love this deal for the Pirates because it's their first multi-year free agent since 2016 in Ivan Nova. So it has been a while for this Pirates organization to get up off the ground, and I love the move for them. You got Ryan O'Hearn at first base, or DHing potentially. We'll see what happens. Brandon Lau at second base. Those are 2 quality bats right there. They're bringing in big-time bats. We know that they made a play for Kyle Schwarber and offered him a bag. Basically the same deal from the Phillies is what I've heard. So the Pirates are making moves for sure. And like I said, you have such a quality pitching squad right now with Paul Skeens obviously at the front, with Bubba Chandler coming up, who's going to be a dog. These are big-time moves. And honestly, the question is now, with the Cardinals basically falling out of the picture and saying that the 2026 season is going to be a wash, that is basically going to be free wins for teams in the NL Central. Could the Pirates make a play for a wild card spot? I don't want to say yes, obviously, because they have a long way to go and they were so bad this season, but I'm saying don't rule it out of the question. I mean, the Central is not the strongest. We know that. The Brewers, the Cubs, the Reds are all teams that made the playoffs, but all of those teams, coming from a Brewers fan, are teams that you can win games against. The Pirates, I definitely don't want to rule them out. I could see them moving into like a 6th seed, honestly, for the playoffs because so many teams get in nowadays. I love the offseason for the Pirates, and if they can make 1 or 2 more deals, I definitely think that they could easily be in contention for a playoff spot. I definitely think they'll at least be making a push to be competitive and get to like a 500 level. And obviously, that's what you want to see when you have Paul Skeens on the bump. Next up is Pete Fairbanks to the Marlins on a 1-year deal worth $13 million. He had a 2.83 ERA last season with 27 saves. I don't think the Marlins are really going to be competitive this season, but you know what? They're doing what they can. And a deal like this, again, I mean, it's $13 million. Yeah, that's fine, but it's a 1-year deal. And for a guy who's a high leverage arm, you need a closer, and they got him. And finally, to wrap it up, we have Tyler Soderstrom on a 7-year extension worth $86 million that could have the potential to go up to $131 million for the Athletics. And I love this move for both sides. Soderstrom obviously gets paid. And then the A's keep their guy, 23 years old. He had 4.3 WAR last season, a 126 OPS plus, and 25 home runs. This is exactly what the A's need to be doing. They have this young, talented squad with Nick Kurtz and with Jacob Wilson, and now with Tyler Soderstrom. You have, that's like 3, and Lawrence Butler's in there too. You have 4 extremely talented players, and bring in like a Jeff McNeil. That's going to make your offense better. That's going to bring in a veteran who knows how to play the game and basically has been in the MLB for a long time to mentor all of these players. I love the move for the A's, and the A's are another team similar to the Pirates. I wouldn't be surprised if they are fighting for a playoff spot in this upcoming season, especially in the AL West, where, I mean, the Mariners are probably going to take it. The Astros aren't looking fantastic anymore. The Angels are the Angels, you know. And who's the last team? The Rangers? You know, it's fine. They could definitely make a push. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a push for a wild card spot. But that is all I got for you. My main highlights is what in the world are the Mets doing? It's so frustrating. Cardinals are blowing it up, and the Pirates are making big-time moves, which I love for that team, even though they're in my division. I just want to see Pittsburgh become a good baseball city again because they have awesome fans, and I just want to see the Pirates be competent. That is all I'm asking. But that is all I got for you right now. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, especially Mets fans. I want to hear what you have to say. But thank you so much for watching Good Sports For You. I appreciate it so, so much, and I'm out. Peace.